Welcome to Hard Boiled, the podcast that plunges into the wild world of event planning. Get ready to uncover the secrets behind crafting unforgettable experiences. Hear some fun inside stories as we explore the heart and soul of event planning with luxury planning guru, Louis Avanti. This is gonna be a fun ride.
Okay, we're recording. Here's another episode of Hard Boiled, everyone. In the new year, it's 2026 already. Crazy. I have the pleasure this morning having my colleague and definitely super talented entertainer, Troy Curtis. Troy, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Happy to be here and happy you thought about me and happy that I was on top of your mind the first of the year.
There you go. See, there you go. I make a list of who I want to have on the podcast. Listen, there's a lot of great people that I love, but some of them can't podcast. You know what I mean?
I got you. I got the microphone just for you.
Exactly. And they'll say stuff like, oh, what do I talk about? Oh, what do I say? Or what are you going to ask me? Stuff like that. So I always say this is a conversation between two people. Troy has an entertainment company. He's a band leader. He's a singer. He's a performer. He does a multitude of things, but more than anything else, he's a very talented individual. Troy, why don't you tell everybody about your company? Do a better job than I do.
Yeah, sure. We'll kind of bring it back. So I started my career in the Latin boy band Menudo. This is the group that Ricky Martin came from when he was a kid. Toured all over the world, stadiums, sold over 1 million records, Sony records, that whole world of being a recording artist, Teen Magazine, that whole fame thing. Then I moved on to
in a boy band.
I was in a boy band. I was a boy in a boy band. If you Google, you'll see me in a boy band, very young. Then I went on to acting on Guiding Light. I was one of the lead actors on Guiding Light. This was on CBS soap opera. I wrote music for the show, sang for the show, and acted. And on the weekends, we were free, right? Because it was a Monday through Friday. We were shooting in New York City. And I found out there was this thing called live events. And I'm like, I love to perform. This is fun. I'm free on the weekends. Let's go. And then I started off actually attending a bar mitzvah. I'm like, this is fun. I'm like, I want to do this. This is just fun. I don't care about the money. This is just fun. And then I started off in the bar mitzvah world on the weekends. So I'm like a soap star on the Monday through Friday and doing bar mitzvahs on the weekends. Started off as a dancer. I danced a couple of events.
I was going to say, what were you doing at the bar mitzvah? You were dancing.
Right,
okay.
Right. Started off as a motivational dancer, right? So this is so funny. So I'm like a soap star Monday through Friday, and I'm dancing bar mitzvahs on the weekends. So you never know who your entertainment really is.
You never know who your dancer is, right? You got a celebrity dancer. That wasn't a boy band.
Right, exactly. And then I saw the MC. I'm like, I can do that. I started MCing, and I saw the owner, and I'm like, I can do that. And then I always showed up as if I was the owner. I was the first one to arrive, the last one to leave. I just treated the business like it was my business. In my mind, it was always my business. I was always the owner. And this was Untouchable Events was the company that I started with, David and Greg. And there was a point where I was like, guys, let's partner up. I could bring a lot of business to the company. They didn't want to do so I went off and I did my own thing. Then I started my own company.
Big mistake, huge, big mistake on their part. Huge.
Look,
huge
I
mistake.
love them, and I tell them, like, guys, I can help. I can still help you build your brand. So I'm always open to collaboration. I'm always open to expansion. So if they see this, when they see this, guys, give me a call. Let's
listen. It is a modern thing now to do that. Years ago, it was considered like you want to take over our business. We worked so hard to build it. Today, partnership and collaborations are different.
It's everything. It's everything. Yeah. And I tell this to like bar mitzvah companies who are out there that if you don't have a wedding division, let me open it for you. Let's collaborate. You have a lot of recurring business. Think about it. The kids you were doing bar mitzvahs for 15 years ago are getting married now. Call me. Correct. Let's expand. Let's go. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. Then I started with the entertainment company with a DJ and a violinist. I stepped out of the scene and started producing, and then we expanded to bands. We have bands in multiple cities. New York is our main hub. It's always our home. We have bands also in Miami, Dallas, Houston, LA, and Chicago. Live entertainment is our world, right? Immersive.
And now it's called Troy Curtis Entertainment.
Yeah. And, I actually moved this like more like TCE underneath it, Troy Curtis Entertainment, because it's way bigger than me. It's about the team, about the talent, about the production. So it's, kind of like I strategically did that.
But TC stands for Troy Curtis Entertainment. Can it stand for anything else? Because T is for talent in there, right?
Right. I was thinking about maybe transcontinental entertainment. I don't know.
Sounds very, very like I don't know, South, Eastern European,
Yeah,
like
exactly,
like
exactly.
anything with trans in it, right? Yeah, but
Yeah,
that's
right,
that's
right.
cool. Yeah, Troy's a very successful guy, and I think being an entertainer is really important. Um, People that just run the company is one thing. People that actually perform or could perform in the band, in the company, make a big difference because they understand what's actually going on. They're not looking in the background and saying, "Oh, this is what used to happen." They know what's happening every weekend, right? And they know
Yeah,
what exactly is the most important element. So when I work with a lot of bands, I work with some big orchestras. I work with Troy a few times, and I love working with Troy. But again, we do a lot of bands, and we also do a lot of DJs. We're somewhat split in the middle.
right.
Do you do any hybrids? Or your band totally hybrid, or you just do bands strictly and then DJ separately?
Yeah, great questions. Yeah, so we do the full band, bass, keys, guitar, drums, singers, different ethnicities, horns, everything from a 10-piece to a full orchestra, playing everything from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, just really high energy dance party to the hybrid band. Now, I tell my clients there's a difference between a hybrid band and a DJ hybrid. Okay. We treat the hybrid band just like a band with the singers, with the horns. They're playing the parts, they're singing the parts. That's a hybrid band, right? And I mean, we're booking them like crazy. I really believe the hybrid band is going to be the new band.
I think so
Because
too. I don't think anybody wants the traditional full black tie band on stage anymore. Well, they just first of all they just can't play everything, right? And your bass line from the DJ is what really carries that rhythm, right? And you can't do that with a band. I mean, you could do well, but is that really the reason why? I mean, that the hybrid band is really the way to go?
yeah, I find the brides are getting younger and younger. So the brides are like, I want the DJ, my parents want the band. And so like I
Right.
caught onto
Okay.
this like 2 years ago. I'm like, I told my business partner, I'm like, look, we got to focus on this because this is going to be the future. And look, you cannot, I don't care how amazing a singer is, Bad Bunny is Bad Bunny. A singer should not
No,
sing.
well, of course, of
You know
course,
what I'm saying? Like that should be right.
there are certain vocals that you cannot reinterpret. Right.
Right, right. And there's certain ones you
Agreed.
can, like Ain't No Mountain, September, Beyonce, Dua Lipa, like Rihanna. All these are great with a live singer, especially we have amazing singers. I'm so grateful and blessed. Some are on The Voice, some have toured with Usher, like we have
Right.
really, really great talent, right? Um, but those singers, I always say, this, you should hear a song and be like, wow, that sounds better than the artist. And that's the songs a singer should sing.
Right.
I have not found a singer that could do Bad Bunny better than Bad Bunny. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. Well, Bad Bunny there's a whole multitude of sounds that come from the DJ, especially when you start going into more of a EDM, feel, etc. The band could only do so much.
That's
Right?
right. That's right.
There's only so much the band could do. Visually, I love a band though because I think when you clap, you got to clap to someone. I always
Yep.
felt the DJ by itself was kind of boring to me.
Right.
Here's a
Right.
guy dressed in black playing somebody else's music.
Right.
Hello. Yet they could still suck. Isn't that kind of interesting? There are some DJs that really, really suck. Yet how could they suck? Because they're playing somebody else's music, right?
Yeah,
They can play
yeah.
all the bangers in the world. So the order and how you play it and how you time it and how you feel that room is
It's
so
everything.
friggin' important. But I
So
do
important.
love a band because the talent on stage and you're clapping to someone, something. You're not
Agreed.
just clapping to like background music, right?
Agreed. Agreed. We were just at
And
Crystal Plaza. We
right,
had, it was a hybrid band. It was three singers, two horns, electric violin, percussion. The stage was full. The stage was full. And, we were at the Rainbow Room and it was like, very similar. You have three singers, two horns, electric violin, percussion. They wanted an electric guitar, so we added that. It's a great project, especially for spacing. You can make it as big or as small, and especially for destination. I tell my clients all the time, why are you going to spend all this money
agreed.
on flights and hotels? You don't need it.
Right, agreed. We're doing a wedding in Europe now where we're actually bringing a DJ and MC from here, but we're hiring some of the musicians from Europe. Just to fill it in. But same
Yep.
concept, same concept. The band with a
Exactly.
DJ rather than a DJ with the band.
Yeah.
We love that. We love that concept. So
Yeah.
tell me, talk a little bit about your business. You've been around for a long time, although you still look very young and you
Poor
know
Grace.
uh, well, whatever. But I'm saying, you've been around for a long time and very experienced. And I know that everybody goes through ups and downs in their industry. Everybody goes trials and tribulations. I've known Troy for many, many years, probably over 20 years. And Troy's been always the kind of guy that has never, ever, ever quit. So I find it to be very admirable.
Thank you.
Troy always looks for a new horizon, a new way, a new push, a new determination. He believes in himself, and one day you could be a great motivating speaker, Troy,
Thank
because
you. Thank you.
you're very motivating yourself.
Thank you.
Troy never says no. Troy never gives up. Troy's always in the spotlight. Whether he was doing it for somebody else or doing it for himself, always do it at 100%. Like you said, first guy to mitzvah. Always the owner. And I think that's the great attitude. That's where every business person or every entrepreneur in the event industry should be. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't feel that
Thank you.
people sometimes do that enough. Yeah, it's a compliment, but it's also the truth, right? I don't stroke anything. I say it like it is all the time. That's why it's called hard boiled, basically uncut, uncensored. I
Love
don't
it.
give a flying shit. I'm gonna tell you like it is all the time, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and if I feel that something is not right, I can tell Troy, I can tell any professional, and say this is wrong, and here's why, and he can just trust my knowledge rather than argue with me about it,
That's right.
and say, well, this guy has a point. Maybe I should listen to him. He knows what he's doing, etc. So mutual respect in the industry goes a long way. But with mutual respect and things going a long way, you probably have some really, really fucked up horror stories about some clients that over the years have been, I don't want to say situations that you've been put in. I mean, everybody has lost power. Everybody has lost a singer. Everybody has, deal with, situations that I'm sure you were able to get through them with flying colors. But can you remember any situation or any scenario where you had a very difficult client or like a really good story to tell me? See, you
Yeah.
notice if you're watching the podcast, you'll notice that when I start talking about this, Troy already flexed his back and moved around a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
bit
Get
because
ready. Get ready for that.
becomes like the uncomfortable shit, right? But I listen. I tell it all the time. Things they're
Yeah.
not uncomfortable. There's just stuff that happens. We are people, so
Absolutely.
we're not
Yeah.
perfect. But and there are a lot of clients in every industry that are assholes. So tell me something.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, I think this particular client that I'm thinking about actually really changed the game for me. And it really allowed me to take a step back and set my values on the type of people I want to work with and the type of people I don't want to work with. And
Right.
from that point on, I started choosing my clients, right? Not taking just any client just to get the business. And it's worked amazing, right? And I think when you give the universe that clarity of the type of clients you want, the universe will give it to you. When you just take any client that comes to you, you're going to get just any client.
Well, you got
So
to
if
be
you
at a
pick a good
certain
client,
point to choose your client, right?
what's that?
You got to be at a certain point to choose your clients.
Well, I think also you just have to just believe in your product enough to say, you know what, this is a risk, but I believe that the product is good enough that it's going to speak for itself, and the dates are going to get filled, right? So yeah, it was there was definitely that point of, okay, I'm going to say no. But by saying no, one door closes, the right one opens when you're clear.
Always. Always, always. It's a really good point. You're going to tell me the story now, but I
Yeah.
totally agree with you because I think that once you set like I guess a certain kind of what's the word I'm looking for, a certain kind of expectation who you are, I think that it translates well.
So this client, I noticed that he would, when I went to do a site inspection at his house, he would just yell at his staff, the gardener and chef and the driver, and just have this energy of just yelling at people. I was like, okay, okay. I was like, it's not really nice, but, and like the things he would say was really not nice. But I was like, all right, it is what it is. I'm not judging it. It is what it is. Started doing events. Everything was great. Everything's fine. Like, never yelled, was always cool with me. We always had a great connection. And I was on a phone with him. I did events for him in the Hamptons year over year over year over year, probably like 3 years, right? Big events, big events, like big events, right? Like having to bus in entertainment from New York style events, right? Like
Right.
big parties. Great client, great chemistry, great vibes. For me, it was always good. He was always respectful. That was always cool. And then there's one day we were having a conversation and he started yelling at me. And I was like, that's interesting. And I asked him, I was like, I think it's best that we just pause this conversation for a moment and let's get back on the call. Pause the conversation so I can reflect on what's going on, so I don't make any spontaneous movements that just aren't in my character, right?
Like you
So
don't, like you don't. No, you're not basically saying you don't want to yell back at him.
look, I have Italian, Cuban in me, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you got it's defensive. You get defensive, right? People, yell at you. The first line of defense goes up, right?
Right. So
Right.
I've learned that a long time ago. The best defense is just to take a moment and step away and breathe,
Right.
because I don't want to get out of my values or my character. Right. That's like very important to me. And to allow someone to do that is just not being self-aware. So I became self-aware years ago to say, let me pause, take a moment, take a breath, and come back. So then I came back, called him up again, and I was like, look, um, that's not how you talk to me. I bend over backwards for you. I give you anything you need all the time. I am here for your family. You invited me to stay at your house. Like, I am part of your family, and for you to talk to me like that is just not acceptable. And if you want to continue to talk to me like that, it's best that I don't work for you anymore. And it's best that we just, go our separate ways. And he took a moment and he apologized. And I learned then and there that if you can respectfully articulate your values to people and they're enrolled in that and they go with it, great. Stick around, stick with them. If not, you got to move on. So it ended up working out. Still, it did, doing events, still a great client. But it's just, I think sometimes you need to share with people how you need to be communicated with. Because if you think about it, people communicate with people differently. They communicate with their kids different than they communicate with the gardener. They communicate with,
It's an interesting point that you bring. There are personalities that are, I guess a little bit more aggressive than others, but I understand what you're saying. People treat other people differently.
Yeah,
You
they
know what
do.
I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. And there's certain planners as well, like, and I get it. They're stressed out, and trust me, I have been in that place as well. And I might have said something to, my artist in a way that I had to come back and apologize immediately, because it's just not my values. So I understand the pressure. I understand that. I do. So, I try to stay cool like a cucumber, and I train my team the same way. We have over 100 artists, and we have trainings on how to show up, right? If someone's yelling at you, you don't yell back. You just stay cool like a cucumber and you support them. They're going through something and they just haven't learned how to manage their emotions. You know what I mean?
Or
So,
sometimes they're just plain assholes. There are a
right,
lot of
right, as well, as well.
there are a lot of people out there that are just plain assholes.
There are a lot of people, and this is a
Unfortunately,
very
let's
small
face it.
industry, right? There are people, and it's a small industry, and people know who those people are, whether they're a
Right.
planner or
Right.
whatever it is. And quite frankly, if they call me, I might not take their call
Yeah,
because I've heard it too
I
many
don't let
times.
anything bother me at all. Honestly, nothing you can say is going to bother me
Right.
whatsoever. I let everything fall. I mean, 20 years ago, I would have been probably more aggressive and I would have been more like in your face, if something went
Yeah.
out. Now I make my problem your problem. So if I'm
Right.
having a problem, I say, hey, Troy, listen, this is my problem. How can we fix it?
Right. Exactly.
And
That's
we
perfect.
try to do it together. So that's what I do today. But that comes with basically having a long career and been in many, many
It
situations,
does. Comes with
right?
time.
And I
Yeah.
think you learn from that one situations.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever? How many times have you had brides tell you before a party, we can't play these songs, and those are all the songs you want to play? How do you
They're the
deal
hits.
with that?
Right. And I tell them this story. I'm like, look, I will give you exactly what you want. However, if during the party the dance floor isn't packed and I come up to you and ask you if let us do what we do best, you got to say yes. And I'll never forget a mother of the bride. It
Right.
was the same exact conversation. And at the party, the dance floor was not packed. And if every single person's on the dance floor, to me, it's a failure. Every single person should be engaged from the moment they come in to the moment people leave, right? And there's a way and there's a flow to do that, right? Um, and we were during the second dance set, there was about 75 people on the dance floor, but I need 100% of the dance floor. And I went up to the mother and I said, look, remember the conversation we had? You got my hands tied behind my back.
It's time.
You're not
It's
letting me play.
time.
She goes, "Do your thing." And we played when the horns came out in the audience, "Crazy in Love." Everyone got on the dance floor, and we crushed it. She goes, "Thank you so much." I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
got you."
yeah. I mean, a lot. I love the do not playlist because it's important not to play what they don't want you to play. But
Totally.
not one. The whole do not playlist is everything that you play to get that dance floor packed, right?
100%. And we tell our clients, pick your 5 must plays or 5 do not plays. We collaborate on the list. Totally open. If you say no Bruno, we're not going to play Bruno. No problem. Like we collaborate with you, and it's about that. It's about
Yeah, what's up?
customizing.
What's up with this Bruno Mars hate team?
I don't
It's
know. It's been going
it's
on.
very it's very weird for me because I love Bruno Mars. You
He has
know,
hits. He has hits.
it's weird. It's weird.
I
There's a
know.
whole Bruno Mars hate team out there. A lot of goes, oh, thank you said that. I don't hate Bruno Mars. I'm saying, why do you hate Bruno Mars?
He's an amazing. He's an
But
amazing artist. I just
no,
think.
I
I
think so
think
too.
it was so played out. Like Uptown Funk. It was just. It was every single
I
song.
understand that. I understand that. I understand Uptown Funk, and I understand a lot of songs get played out very quickly,
Yep.
right? But people still react to them, unfortunately,
People love it.
right?
People love it. And also, like the way we do it is different, right? Like the horns are in the audience. You like, you make it immersive, you make it fun. So people love it. But yeah.
Immersive is funny. I had a couple of clients over the years say, we don't want anybody off the stage, nobody coming into the audience.
Yeah.
We don't want any lights. We don't want, and I'm going, well, you're
No
going to have
show.
lights. You're going to have it. I said, you're going to have this. And, if the sax player wants to go into the audience, I said, you're going to have to let them because it's part of what the show is. And you could tell me later you hated it, but if it worked that night, you have to trust me. This is
Right.
what's best for your party, right?
Right.
People love the energy. It's your sometimes you got to put your personal, like, I guess, feelings aside when you're hiring a band, and try to show people what you do best, which is entertain.
Right.
You have to entertain them, but you also have to entertain the other 199 people in the room,
Yeah, right.
right?
So it's interesting you say that because we have bands in multiple cities, right? We have bands in New York, Miami, Texas, LA, Chicago, and there is a different vibe and a different culture in each city.
Really?
And yeah, and so we have an option. We asked that's in our client questionnaire. Do you want the band to be immersive or do you want them just to stay on stage? Because some clients just want music, and that's great. We can do that, no problem, right? So yeah, we're very flexible with that. We're not like a cookie cutter. We're like, this is what you get, whether you like it or not. We're like, what do you like? What kind of songs you like? What kind of music do you like? What kind of vibe are you looking for? And I always start my conversation with that with the client. I said, what is your vision? What are you looking for? And then I can recommend the perfect band or the perfect combination or the perfect entertainment experience for them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you have to ask, what is your vision? Some people but people are going to say the same shit all the time. They're going to say stuff like, I want a packed dance floor. I want a really cool dance party. I want everybody going crazy. It's the same line all the time.
Mhm.
No one says, I want a nice, boring wedding.
Right.
I,
Well, that's the outcome, right? And then you have to really share with the client how to get to the outcome, right? And I tell them, and I tell clients all the time, you don't want to start a wedding off, specifically a wedding, with Dua Lipa. Like you're not going to get the older crowd. Wait, start off with the Motown. Get everyone on the dance floor first. Lean into it. Warm up to it. Second set, get into the Beyonce, get into the Dua Lipa, get into the Justin Timberlake, all those great songs. So there is a flow. There is a chemistry that works every time. I have a guarantee that the dance floor will be packed from the moment guests come in until the moment they leave. It's because there is a flow. There is with timing and with which songs
so
to
you,
play,
you
when to
think
play them.
you think there's an actual formula,
There is 100%.
because I found that New York City society bands, and I'm not saying you're not a society band. I consider your company society/party band, right? But I know the society bands in New York City, which I won't mention names. We know who they are. They play the same shit at every party. So maybe
Right.
it's their form. They're going to start off with Motown, right? Which at some of my clients, they'll never dance to Motown,
Right.
right?
Right.
They won't even get up, right? But
Right.
their client base,
Right.
Upper East Side, New York City, will dance to Motown every single time, right?
Every
So
single time.
that's their formula. They get up there and they go, woo! I'm like, oh, seriously, right? And they'll go into the same set songs over and over again. And it's
Yep.
funny because even the kids, the bride and groom and their friends, I call them the kids at this point because the parents are setting the Motown tone. They're dancing to it also.
They are.
So it's like
It
kind
warms
of
them up.
interesting. It's like, then I have, but you got to know your group. You got to know your client
You
base.
got to know the clients. Right.
Because there are certain specialty bands that those clients are never going to move if you play
Right.
Motown.
Right,
You
and you
know,
have to
it's
ask
just
the
that.
clients. You got to say must plays, do not plays. They might say, I don't want to hear Motown. Great, we don't need it. What do you want to hear? What is
Right.
your clientele like? Right. Yeah.
You know,
But I tell my
get
clients, those very first moments, like the first 5 minutes is everything. You have to get the full, all the guests on the dance floor immediately. You have to let them know we're here to party. When it's time for reception, you have to engage the crowd, welcome them to the dance floor, play the songs, they get everyone on the dance floor. I say to my brides and grooms, the guarantee is that when you open up the door, your dance floor is going to be packed. And that's what you want to see, right? Of course, if you have to take dinner orders, that's fine. But I suggest let's dance them, let's warm them up a little bit, and then we'll get them to dinner orders immediately. However, the flexibility is, I always feel that, if you think about the flow of the night, the whole day, you're sitting down for ceremony, you're standing for cocktails. The last thing you want to
I
do is
agree with you. I'd answer right away. But let me ask you this crazy question, right? How important is it to you to have the bride and groom lead that? In other words,
which
how important is it to you as a band leader, band company, to have the bride and groom on the dance floor? Don't you
super
think
important.
that is the most important thing when they're
I
dancing?
absolutely. People want to party with the bride and groom, and I share that with them because, and I sometimes I'll tell them even before the party, whether it's one of my other bands or whether it's my personal band. I always coach them and I say, do not let the photographer dictate your party, because the photographer wants their best
Well,
shots.
a good
Picture, picture,
planner will
picture.
not allow that to happen.
Good, good, good.
A
Yeah,
good planner
it's
won't let that
important for the
happen.
bride
But a
and groom
good
on the
planner
dance
is
floor.
going to say, this is what you're going to be doing now, right? You got to go
Yeah,
out there and you got to dance. Sometimes I get grooms that say, well, I really don't dance. And I'm like, really? You really don't dance? That's going to be a little bit of an issue.
totally.
So, so going back to, like, when we allow bride and grooms to choose the music and we allow people to choose the music, I think the band has to set the tone to what
Yeah,
they're going to play based on the crowd.
absolutely.
It's not an easy job. I tell people all the time, just, oh, the band plays for 4 hours and they leave and they charge like $30,000. I said, yeah, but that's not the point. The point is you try to get up there, look at 200 people, and now you have the responsibility to entertain them. That is one of the hardest jobs, if not the hardest job, in the entire wedding industry.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right. Because it's live and you can't get it wrong. You have to get it right every time. And
right?
it's also,
You don't have another chance later on. Well, okay, tomorrow we'll change it. We'll
you
do
get one
this
shot.
tomorrow.
You get one
Right.
shot. You get
We'll
one
do
shot.
this
That's it. You got to
tomorrow,
crush
right?
it.
And how do
Yep.
you do it? Do you do it with talent? You do it with visual, what you look like,
Yep.
right? And importantly, you have to, like, be able to connect. How do you connect to 200 people? It's
Right.
hard, man. It really is a very difficult endeavor, because you
Gotta-
go
you-
in and it's a different
It's an
crowd.
art.
Oh, this, yeah, it's an art. It's an
It's an
art to
art.
connect with the crowd. I've done weddings where bands that I did not choose, that the bride and groom chose, that were a little dead. I had to tell them the
That's always
playlist.
trouble. Listen to your
I had to
planner.
go. I had to go
Listen to
over
your
and
planner.
tell. Like, I had one band a couple of years ago come up to me and he goes, "Hey Lou, did these people know they were going to a party tonight?"
Oh no.
That's the excuse he used for people not dancing.
Oh man,
And I'm
that
saying,
sucks.
dude, you're playing all the wrong stuff. And he
Right.
goes, I'm playing what I play normally. I said, doesn't work in this crowd. And I actually got a sheet of paper and I wrote everything he should play in the order he played it. About nine
Good for
songs
you.
that I, top of my head,
What
right?
you knew.
He
Yep.
goes, all right. He turns around, starts playing them. The dance floor is packed.
Nice.
Like, how did you know? Because I know my crowd.
Louis, you want a job?
The minute
Band
he
leader?
ran out, but listen, I've seen successful people play, right? The
Totally.
minute he ran out of that list, he was done.
Oh no.
The rest of the nights again, because he didn't
Yeah.
know
It's
how to
experience.
continue it. I figured
Right.
you follow the theme, right? Follow what's going on, follow what
Right.
people want
Exactly.
to hear, right?
Right.
Um, and you can always have your, what we call, like, the things that, what is it, danza kuduro, where
Yep.
everybody's dead. You put danza kuduro, somebody's going to dance, right? So
Exactly. That's right. Right. Right.
so
Right.
these are the,
You know your
your,
go-tos.
yeah, we what do we call that? We call it, when everything goes wrong, danza kuduro's here, right?
It's
So
hilarious.
it's like,
No,
one
it's
of those.
true.
So um, I also know that you're doing some stuff for charity.
Yeah.
I love to, let me hear a little bit about that, because I think charity is so important in life.
So important.
I was telling a friend of mine last week, and I've learned this from a lot of clients over the years. Particularly, the person that taught me this was Jared Kushner's mother.
Wow.
We did Jared Kushner's bar mitzvah many, many years ago.
Wow. Nice.
And I mean, before he was Jared Kushner, right? When he was just a rich kid living in Jersey with
With a
father,
dream.
well, parents that had buildings in New York City, are very nice people. And she was contributing so much money to charity. And
Yeah.
then when I asked, which I could not understand or fathom how that could be. And then she told me this is the only way that really you can speak to God, do what God does, just give, and
Beautiful.
God will give back, right?
That's right.
And I never
That's right.
forgot those words, So you and I talked the other day. You told me you're doing a big charity event. You do all the time. You said every year. So let's talk about it for a few seconds. Why not?
Yeah, yeah, I would love to. Absolutely love to. Yeah, so this is the second time we're doing it in Puerto Rico. There's a place in Puerto Rico called Dorado, which a lot of, Ricky Martin lives there. I mean, the houses are like 10 million plus, right? It's like
Yeah.
you think of Puerto Rico, you don't think of Dorado, but this is the spot.
Right.
So I have great friends, great community out there. And yeah, last year, a friend of mine, we throw this big party every year, and he, came up to me and he said, Troy, the last, person we had that planned it and produced it, I really didn't see where the money went. Like, I don't know if you must have like pocketed a lot of the money. He
Oh,
goes, you
damn.
want to do it? I said, look, I'm an entertainment guy. I've been in the business for over 15 years. I have all the access, all the contacts, all the creativity. I'll do it. And we crushed it. Last year, we brought in Train, we brought in Flow Rider. I had 2 stages. I brought in my team from Miami. We shipped all the stuff into Puerto Rico, designed it to a nightclub, 250-pound tuna being carved live, caviar bar, immersive entertainment. It was just an amazing party. And these guys, they see everything. And they were like, Troy, this is the best party we've ever seen. I'm like,
Wow, that's awesome.
that was awesome. So, of course, it's like, Troy, we're doing it again. So now we actually turned it into a charity. We turned it into it's called Giving Back to Puerto Rico. And I'm grateful to be able to be a part of this. I started in Puerto Rico in Menudo. Uh, I wasn't born in Puerto Rico, New York, Miami. We were based in Miami, but this was a big place where the group started. Again, this is the group that Ricky Martin came from. So to be able to come back and to be able to do something like this and raise money for the kids in Puerto Rico is huge. And there's a big problem. There's a disappearance of the kids of Puerto Rico, which means the population is declining. It's crazy.
Crazy.
So we're providing food, shelter, safety, which ultimately leads to better education. So it's all about better education. We've already raised, the party is on January 24th. We've already raised about $1 million for it, which is great. I want to go for 1.8. That's the goal. So yeah, so this year's going to be even bigger, even better. We have major headliners coming in. Yeah, major headliners, a lot of surprises. Again, I'm designing it. It's a theme party, so it's like a dress up. So it's called The Legends Live On. So you dress up as your favorite legend. So it's like a fun vibe.
Like your favorite legend. Like, I don't know. I mean, give me an example of that. That's a hard
Muhammad
one for
Ali,
me.
Frank Sinatra, Marilyn Monroe, Michael
Oh, okay,
Jackson.
okay. Entertainment legends, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
entertainment or political, whatever, like whatever floats your boat. But that's the party, and it's going to be amazing. There's probably gonna be like 600 people there, and I'm doing the whole thing. I'm bringing in, the headliners. I'm doing the production, the design concept, the party concept was my idea, and I love this client. He's like, Troy, just create. Like, I'm like, what's the
Well,
budget? He's like,
it's what we call
there's no budget.
that's what we call dream clients, right?
Yeah, he's right. He's like, what's the
Don't
budget?
you
They're
do
like,
you
just
don't, you
create.
don't you do your best work with dream clients? I mean, that's the they're dream clients. Yeah, they let you do your thing at the
They let
highest,
you dream.
at your highest, right? They let you dream, and they let you do your work at your highest capability, right? Because
Exactly.
you're not
Yeah.
being, you have no boundaries to it. So if you're really
Mhm.
good at what you do, you can really excel. If you
Yeah.
suck, then you really suck. At the end of the day, wasn't creative, right? So,
Right.
I'm sure you're doing an amazing job. You're going to kill it.
Yeah, we're
And
excited.
you mentioned to me that you work in New York, you work in Miami, you work in Texas, you work in Chicago, and you work in LA.
Yep.
Very, very different markets.
Very.
Um, but they're all in the luxury market, right?
Yep.
I mean, Texas has a big luxury market as well,
Big.
right? And how would you say it compares? Because in New York, we always think that we're the king of everything. We're like the most expensive wedding markets: New York, New York, New York, New York, New York, New York, New York. And I've done a lot of work in Miami, some very high end events in Miami. So I'll leave Miami in the New York vibe, price wise. But how is this different in L.A. and Chicago, and of course, Texas.
For entertainment, it's the same price across the board. Really, it's
Really?
the same price. Yeah, they might spend differently in different things, but I always tell my clients, I'm like, look, for that 4 hours of continuous music, the flowers could go wrong, the lighting could go wrong, but your entertainment has to be spot on every moment. So reallocate your budget.
Well, okay. Okay, because I know they're not used to spending those dollars,
Yeah,
overall. Unless
there's
I'm wrong, I know there's some luxury in LA. Obviously, there's a lot of luxury in these all these
mhm.
cities,
Yep.
but there's also a different kind of like expectation. I think New York City is the most expensive by far.
I would say potentially for the full party, yeah, but for the entertainment, it's pretty standard across the board. I mean, there are like anywhere else. There's companies that are like mom and pop. Then there's like mid tier. Then there's luxury, right?
No, I
So
understand. I understand. Listen, I'm on TikTok, so I have, I obviously have a channel on TikTok, and I got a lot of brides that I always, banter with, talk to, help, assist. But it was
yeah,
funny. I get these things being, oh, my DJ wants like $2,000. I'm like, okay,
right,
and it's like stuff like that, and
right,
can you
and
believe they wanted 4,000 for the catering? Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
so it's kind of the difference from our markets to what people
yeah.
think things cost. You know, it drives me insanity. Talent must be not a hard sell, but it definitely has to be. You know, how do you sell it? In other words, I can get a band in New York City for like $10,000, and I can
Right,
get a band in New York City for $50,000.
right.
So how do you cross that bridge, right? How do you?
Great question. That's a great
Is
question.
yeah, because it's how do you turn around and say, well, my band is 25,000 or 35,000? I'm hypothetically saying stuff out there when they know that there is stuff for 10,000. I understand that. Obviously, a venue is different because if you're at the Plaza Hotel or if you're like at the Knights of Columbus, visually it's different.
Yeah,
But how does entertainment cross that bridge?
that's a great question. That's a really good question. So clients that have seen us live or clients that we're either on the preferred vendor list at the venues or we're recommended directly to a planner, they get it. It's like you're already validated. The trust is there. We're
Right.
hiring this planner for a reason. They're at this venue for a reason, and they've seen you live at a specific particular venue in a particular community. So that's really like it sells itself in a sense because you know if you connect with them, if you collaborate with them, they know they can trust you. So that trust is built. On the opposite side, like someone that is completely cold and they've never seen you, you might not be on the preferred vendor list, or even they don't even have a planner. Then you know that it's just a low, it's just they have less of a budget to invest in their wedding.
Well,
That's
they
why.
have the budget. They just don't know why to spend that much.
Correct. So
Right.
yes, exactly. So you have to educate them, but also what we've done is we understand that some clients don't have that budget, so we have different tiers of talent and
Right.
different tiers of bands, so you know, we can service the middle market and we can service the luxury market at a you know that's comfortable for the client. That said, with educating, it's super important to educate the client because, like I always say, that brides and grooms, they're first time buyers and hopefully one time buyers,
Right.
right? You're getting married, you've never done it before. So I tell clients, I'm like, look, I'm going to educate you. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I'm going to educate you. I'll even share with you some of my competitors out there that you can look at, and this is what you should ask them. This is what you should look for, when you're going out there because they don't know. And I tell them if you choose us, awesome, great. If you don't and you choose another person, I'll still give you some advice. So your set list is amazing. I want you to have an amazing time. And that just like I don't I don't sell anything. I just share the experience, really.
Well, look, I'm going to give you a perfect example, right? I'm getting married and I don't know what a band costs, right? I'm having a really nice wedding. Let's say I'm having a wedding in either a country club or I'll say like in one of the hotels in Midtown, right?
Yep.
And I know what flowers cost, and I know what this costs and et cetera. But, I figured what can a band cost? Like, $8,000, $10,000, eight musicians, 10 musicians, were they making like 1,500 each for the night. I think that's really great money. I'm talking like a client now, right?
Right. Sure.
And I come to you and you say the band is $20,000. I'll say, whoa, Troy, how do you get $20,000? What do you answer me? How do you substantiate that to me?
Yeah. Very easy, because there's a guarantee. You're investing all this money into your wedding, 100,000, 200,000, half a million, $1 million.
Right.
And if the band doesn't get it right, all that money you spent is for nothing. So they're paying for a guarantee, right? When you hire
So
pros,
I'm not guaranteed if I spend 15. I'm guaranteed if I spend 25. Is that what you're saying?
no, that's not what I'm
Or I'm
saying. No,
or,
good question. Good question. So you're
well,
guaranteed
it's
when
a
you come.
very hard question. I'm putting you on the spot, but I
No,
understand. I want
it's
to
not a hard
hear.
question.
Yeah.
It's a very very easy question. When you come to us, you're guaranteed that you're gonna have an amazing party, right? The question is, which products do we have? Like, for example, there's certain bands that are at that level that we don't have to take that date, that price. If a client comes in and they're like at that 10K budget, then I'll offer them a DJ hybrid, a DJ with some live pieces, not a hybrid band. The hybrid
Right.
band is more. We have something for everyone, right? So a client might come in and say, we got 15K, 20K. So let's talk about the hybrid band. Why? Because you're getting the same full sound, but there's less people to pay. There's less of an expense. So we can give you that, that same experience.
And how do you manage talent? Like, for example, let's say this is a problem, and there's a couple of let's call them what they are, right? They're called what do they say? We are a consortium of musicians.
No, no, a collective, a collective.
A collective, right? Consortium collective. We're a musical collective, right? And one of the clients that just spoke to me, she gave me the name of the band that they hired, and I said, "You're not going to get the band that you saw." I said because they are a collective of musicians, right?
Right.
And this is common, a little common in our industry, which I think
Yep.
sucks. For somebody that doesn't know what I'm talking about,
Mhm.
it's very simple. You'll go see a band, and the band is great, and you book the band, and then it says that they are a collective of musicians, which means they will give you a band that's like this, could be that band, but maybe it's not that band. It's like whoever's available to fit the roles of the band that you saw. And you got to trust them to fill in those roles. And I've worked with two of them, and they both were terrible. I mean,
That's
they
not good.
really were terrible. Where my bride's mother, like at one point, went up to them and said, "I don't understand why you're playing all this. We told you not to."
Oh,
The
that's
guy
not
didn't
good.
have a list. He didn't understand what's going. And thank God,
Yeah.
my after party DJ saved the party, right? Because
Right.
nobody danced through the night. They played everything out, the full song, all the way to the end,
Yep.
extended. It was such a boring night, right?
Yep.
And I was hurt, but I couldn't take responsibility because I told them not to hire that band. So
Right.
so I love your band. You got a great female singer, right? Crazy hair, right? I'm saying, oh, Troy, I want her. Is that guaranteed in your band? I know
Right.
nothing is guaranteed. If she really is sick or God forbid something happens, but most of the time, is she part of your band or
Great. So
she's
I'll
just
get
for
to that
show?
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's I'll get to that question in a second. I want to answer the first question you're talking
Yeah.
about the the collective model. And
Yeah.
I'll speak to entertainment companies. If
Right.
you're doing the collective model, you better make sure that all of your strong lead black male singers know all those songs, know all the
Correct.
harmonies, know everything in and out. Your female singers, the same thing. And you better make sure that they all have a chemistry together, right? And most importantly, your rhythm section is consistent. Okay. Because if you have a consistent rhythm section, the songs are going to be back to back, seamless. No, the music doesn't stop. If the music stops, the party's done. Can't
Right.
stop. What's the next song? Boom. If you have a
Oh,
consistent rhythm section, you're golden. And if you have singers on your roster, they need to have chemistry together. They all need to know the harmonies, all need to know the songs. And if they have that in their model, the model will be successful because it's no different than Broadway. You have your star, and then you have
sure.
your stand-in. What if the star is not available? You got the stand-in who knows all the music, knows all the harmonies,
Yeah, the
knows the
understudy. Yep.
cast, knows
Yep.
chemistry. Now, there's a lot of companies out there, unfortunately, that just like, you know, call, a player and they're meeting for the first time, and that's a problem, right? There has to be chemistry. There has to be that. Okay. So now getting to your question about, hey, I love this lead singer. I want this lead singer. Is she available or is he available? That all depends upon availability, right? Personal availability. So if they're professionally available, great. If they want to, like, it's almost like the MC model, right? If you want the MC, you should put the MC in the contract, right? You should have that person in the contract, and there might be an extra fee for that, right? So I have clients like that sometimes. They're like, we need this person. I'm like, this person's in California. I could bring her in, no problem. She's available, but there's going to be an extra fee. We got to bring her in. Are you willing to pay for it? Yes, not a problem. Then we contract the players, we contract the client, and then it's no different than going on tour, right?
Right. Gotcha. But you know, if you have to substitute, it would be because of something major, which rarely happens. Correct. You
Exactly.
always
Correct.
yeah
Correct. Yeah.
yeah
Look, how we work and how we operate is like the videos that we show to our clients, and we say this is the band. We immediately, as soon as we get the contract, we immediately send out a gig offer. We hold those people. Okay, if for some reason one person isn't available, we communicate that, and we find, like, we have a roster of people, of singers that are in that same style, whether it's the rocker, the female singer, whatever it is. They know all their music, and they all play together. Like I've built that collective model in a very strategic way, where that we have about 30 to 40 singers on our roster collectively, and they all play together. I'll fly in my singers from LA, play with my New York band, my New York singers to Texas. We have destination. I'll bring them together, and it's like a reunion. So actually, the chemistry is not stale. And I want to talk to you about this a little bit. Sometimes when there is a consistent band that's been playing together for years, it's just another paycheck. It's stale. However, if the rhythm section,
that's an interesting point, because the band now has been together so long, they're tight, but they're also stale. It's like a kitchen cooking with the same food every night.
You're going through the motions. You're not feeling it. So you have to, I always say that the rhythm section has to be consistent. You got a consistent rhythm section, you're home run. It's people think the singers are the most important. They are very important, and the whole band is important. However, you could have, and here's like the secret sauce. You can have an amazing rhythm section and really good singers, and the band's going to be phenomenal. You can have a good rhythm section and amazing singers, and the band's just going to be good. Why?
Interesting. Wow, that's interesting.
Parts. You need those transitions. It's like a DJ. Perfect example. Think of a DJ who can mix.
Perfect example. Yep. Perfect
It's
example.
Off.
That's so why the DJs suck, or they play the song out too long.
Exactly. So
they're
that's
not
the
mixing early enough.
That's the rhythm section's job. So the rhythm section's job is to make sure that they're only playing the songs a certain amount. I say the bands play like a DJ, right? They only play a certain amount, a certain time, and then they transition seamlessly to the next song.
That's really, really important, because that's the beauty about a great band. A great band will never play out the song in its entirety.
Yep.
Right? Because it becomes too long.
Too long. People get bored.
Too long. They get bored very, very quickly, and the transition has to be on key. And what's the next song? You do two bad songs back to back, it falls apart. You do two great songs back to back, they get up, and I guess, I never thought about it that way, but it is a rhythm section, right? It's like, what's changing the beat behind me,
right?
Because the singer is not
dancing to,
and all of a sudden she hears it or he hears it, and they know we're going to September, or we're going to this, or we're going to that. I can hear it, I can feel it, I'm going to go into it, right?
Yep.
That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, really, we also operate with in-ears, so like the whole.
I know you're communicating,
the director's communicating with everyone in the band.
Right. And you're talking directly to them. But the question also, so when we do a contract, right, and I look at that great female, that black singer, that soul singer, right? Do I book the contract and then you book her, or you tell me, let me check and see what's available and
check
come
availability,
back to you?
Yeah.
Okay,
check availability.
So you'll check ability first, then we'll go to contract. So we have at least the people that are in there. You're not selling me on something that I'm not going to get.
Correct. Exactly. Right. Exactly. And look, if there's four singers, and quite frankly, if any entertainment company is saying we're guaranteeing these people, you can't guarantee people. Someone could get sick. Well, someone could get sick. Something could happen. Like,
Yeah. Life is full of surprises. Things can happen in their family. There could be something going on. They just can't make the gig. We understand that.
correct.
And I think what forms a good band. It's funny how nobody really cares who the chef is, right? At these weddings, they
Right. But the food
nobody
better be
cares who
good, right?
cooks the food. They just say, yeah, we assume the food is going to be good, right?
Yeah.
They don't care who's in the kitchen. What at the tasting, whose food did I taste tonight? Oh, we changed the chef. They don't even know,
Right.
right?
Look, they want the hot band, the hot singers. They want to look good, sound good. Essentially, what it comes down to, and I've never had this problem before ever with the client, is the outcome. Is the outcome.
Right.
You know, full transparency. Have we had to, like, a week or 2 weeks before add in a different singer, because they got sick. These things happen rarely, but they happen. And if an
Right.
entertainment company tells you it doesn't happen, they're not being authentic.
No,
Life
they're not being
happens.
authentic. Yeah, agreed.
The main thing I'll tell entertainment companies is make sure all of your players have chemistry together, make sure they know their harmonies, make sure they know their music, and make sure, there are types in the band. There are your classic rocker, your lead strong black male singer, your female, whatever ethnicity, your Latina. There's different roles within the band
Of
that
course,
cover
to play
music.
different kind of music, right?
And I tell that to the client. I'm like, look, you don't want, like, you don't want, like, a white, like, just keep the music authentic. I'll be PC. Keep the music authentic.
I don't
There's
really care for
certain
your PC because I don't believe in that bullshit anyway. You can't have this regular white girl sing the Spanish song because that's what you're going to say, right? You want the Latina
exactly.
singing the Spanish song. You want the black girl singing the soul song, right?
Keep it
Because
authentic.
they're better and it's authentic and it sounds better. Listen,
Sounds better.
entertainment is not a world of I say politically correct. It's a
Right.
real world, right?
Right.
It's
It's
the
it
real
is it's a
world,
real
right?
world. It is. It is a real world.
And it is what it is. You had a funny story. We looked at a band a couple of years ago. Not the band that's around anymore, but one of the singers in the band, was doing like a Pitbull impersonation, right?
Mm.
But he didn't look like Pitbull, sound like Pitbull. It's like a regular like white guy
That
doing Pitbull.
that's
And
not good.
the groom that was looking at the video turned to us and said, "I think the band is great, but that Pitbull guy's got to go."
Yeah.
And then
Take a
they
look.
turned around that the lead singer was the guy that doing the presentation is the Pitbull guy, right? He didn't recognize. He didn't recognize. He goes,
Oh
"Well,
no, he said it's the guy.
That guy can't go. That's me."
They
Okay,
got feedback.
okay.
Don't do
I
people
said, "This
anymore.
is an awkward situation." I go, "Well, I didn't expect you to do Pitbull. You understand? Because
That's
you don't look,
hilarious.
sound, or even act like it. But it's
Right.
kind of you need a new Pitbull guy."
Right.
If this hasn't come to you, but I believe in authenticity. I think it
Yeah.
carries better. I think it looks better. It feels better.
Yep.
You just can't play every role just because to be politically correct. It's stupid, and
Exactly.
it doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right,
Yeah.
and it's not authentic. You're right.
Yeah.
Authenticity is
Yeah.
important in entertainment.
Yeah.
I,
And
I,
the main thing is the outcome, like, of the party. So in that one situation where that one singer, we had to bring in another one of our singers on our roster. They crushed it. As a matter of fact, it was a better choice. I
right.
was like, amazing. I was actually even happier because it made the party. If the singers know the music and the rhythm section knows the music and they know each other and the transitions are tight, you got a home run. You could play in the right songs,
Agreed.
and that's the outcome.
Agreed.
And the client was ecstatic. They were so happy. They were like, there was no mention of it.
Agreed. Agreed. And but thing at the end of the day, right? I always say it's the outcome. I always say I'm gonna deliver the best party you've ever been to. Right?
Yep.
How do you know that? Because I know my vendors, I know my people, and I know myself. I
Right.
know what works and doesn't work. I get paid just for my mind, right? And
Right.
you, in a lot of ways, it's just the same. You know that at the end of the day, if the band is going to work or not work, right?
Right.
And you're not going to wing it because it never pays to wing it, right?
Never.
And think the
Yeah.
client doesn't know. I never assume the client doesn't know. I've had
Yeah.
many, many parties where people look at me and say, "Band is good, not great," and I'll say, "Yeah, I know." It's like one of those things. They're good, but they're not great. Even though the dance floor is packed, the clients tell me the band is good, they're not great. Not my band, not the one that I hired, the one they want to go with. That's it. They're doing a great job. She goes, "Not really. I expected more." Right. And that's the
See?
worst thing
Right.
that could happen at the end
Yeah,
of
it
the day,
is.
right? When they're disappointed on their decision. So I always say, trust the band leader, trust the planner that's introducing you. And if it's not the planner, at least trust some kind of review, but feel it, right? The
Yeah.
sincerity in what we sell. I know that
Yeah.
if a client comes to me and I don't gel with that client, I'm not going to take the gig,
Yeah.
right? I'm just not going. It's not going to work out. We're not working now. We're not going to work 5 months later.
Yeah.
we're just not going to work out together. It just doesn't happen for me, right?
Right.
Um, and how do you keep up with like musical trends? Like I know that a lot of wedding music is very standard. Now we play the same shit all the time because that's been around for a long time,
Yeah.
right? But and and I always tell the client, I said the band is playing for everyone, right?
Right. Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're gonna have that Frank Sinatra singer play, but maybe I hate Frank Sinatra, I hate that
Right.
crooner feel, right?
Right.
I want it to be upbeat all night long. You can't do that either because
Right.
people are going to get tired, right?
Yeah.
You know. So you talked about flow before and timeline, which I feel is the most important thing at a party.
It truly
You
is.
know, and I always tell them that the wedding goes in ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows, ebbs and flows, right? So how do you determine that? Do you do it straight across the board, or when you're finalizing, or when your band leader, or when your company's finalizing with the client, do they feel them out on what that flow is, and then you communicate that to the planner?
Yeah.
You do it with the planner. How do you do that?
Yeah, great question. So I always say we bring the planner's timeline to life, right?
Right.
There's different timelines in different cities, by the way. So like the typical New York timeline is you're dancing between courses, which I personally love because it gives people time to breathe and then get back on the dance floor. And then there's other timelines where, like in Texas or in Chicago, the timeline is you're dancing for like 15 minutes, you sit them down for an hour to eat, and then you dance for 3 hours straight, which is like a
Yeah,
marathon.
I that the European style reception that they call it sometimes, right?
Right.
Where you're having a full dinner. God, I don't know if I love that. Because I think there's a lot of sitting and then too much dancing,
Yeah. It's
right?
not balanced.
Yeah.
It's not. I personally, I find the best way to do that, especially a band cannot play for 3 hours straight. You
No,
cannot.
nobody can. Yeah.
It's impossible. So that's where I recommend the hybrid band is great, or to add a DJ to your band. So during
Right,
dinner,
but
we make it.
people can't dance for 3 hours straight either. Well, it's never 3 hours. It's like 90 minutes. But even though they had the 90-minute set, it's a long set, right? To keep people
Right.
up.
Yeah, we're good. 90 minutes, 2 hours, we can crush. We the band my bands are trained to do that. That's a good time. After 2 hours, it's like, okay, we have to make a plan. And that's where I would say, we'll bring in one of our DJs
Right.
that will play like a 20-minute set to keep the party going because you don't want to stop the party. Party must
Keep
keep
that
going.
energy up for 2 hours. I mean, that's insane, especially at
No,
a
we do
wedding.
it. But no, we're Spartans.
Definitely 2 hours straight.
Yeah,
And what's the
2 hours straight.
time like? What's the timeline like in L.A.?
Max. Yeah, a timeline in LA is like New York, So
Okay.
it's mixed. Yeah, it's mixed. I tell my clients, I'm like, here's a great timeline. You walk into the room, candles are lit, the band is dressed sophisticated. You're playing songs like "Lovely Day," "Let's Stay Together," these good classic soul songs where people could breathe in the room. You find your seats. We immediately warm up the crowd. We go into songs that get everyone on the dance floor. The MC will get onto the dance floor, invite everyone to come and join us. We're getting ready for our grand entrance. We get them dancing first for like a good 10 minutes. Then I always say to my brides and grooms, you're guaranteed to walk into a packed dance floor. Doors open up, high energy song, grand entrance. We make a circle around the room. After the grand entrance, it's a great time to go into the first dance. If it's a Jewish wedding, it's a great time to go into the hora.
Sahara. Yeah.
After that, keep them dancing, sit them down for like 20 minutes later, continuous music for first course.
That's
Parents of the
exactly the
bride
way I
do a
run. That's
speech.
exactly the way I run my timeline. So,
Right. Get it back
yeah.
up. High energy dance set. Sit them down during dinner. Always continuous music. Best man maid of honor speeches at the end. Parent dances. Get it back up for that 90-minute set. That last set is like EDM. Mr. Brightside, shut up and dance. I say like EDM, classic rock, indie rock, like where you want to
Right,
stage
exactly,
dive and
exactly.
rage.
And things that I want to call it like bar music, right? It's really like the
Sing-alongs.
music everybody knows, right?
College
Everybody,
music. Yeah, right.
everybody can sing along to it,
Club.
right? Everybody can
Yep.
say, Mr. Brightside, everybody sing along to this one, to that one, right?
Yeah.
All the sing-alongs, all the bangers, and
Right.
that's what they remember because they're going out like this,
Oh,
right?
I had a client one time. They're like, Troy, we're seeing people stage dive at your weddings. Can we put in our contract that we're going to stage dive? I'm like, sure.
Yeah, you want
You
to stage
know,
dive? Sign this. Yeah, sign this here.
sign this. Yeah,
Waiver, right?
exactly.
We had a client stage dive at recent. The mother stage dive too. It
I
was
love
kind of
it. Yeah,
funny,
I had some father stage dive. So
you know.
we also we play the music with the flow of the alcohol, right? You never
Yeah.
want to like at the end. You don't want to start off a party with like Rihanna. Like we'll get there, but you got to go with the flow. People are at the
No,
last set.
you have to work him into it. Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but nobody's walking into a club. They're walking into a wedding.
You're
And the
right. You got
level
to
of
breathe in the
and the
sophistication.
level of sophistication too. You remember that this is a party, but there's a level of sophistication in the
Yeah,
events that we do, right? So
one
that's
hundred
got to be
percent.
it's all got to be part of it. You know what your band is wearing, what the visual is.
Yep.
You know, are you choreographed on stage
We have
or not?
it's not like we're not that like glittery jacket kind of Vegas show style. And I personally think it's cheesy. You know,
Right.
it's just it's my personal opinion. We like to keep it classy, sophisticated. Now it's tight, like the band is standing straight in a line, you know, doing a couple moves, you know, and like there'll be moments of certain things, but if the client wants it, we can add it because we have certain like medleys that are put together like that. But typically, our brides and grooms, they're more classy, they're more sophisticated. They want it to be more about them than the band, right? I just had a client
No,
who
no,
just
I
called me.
understand that, but a lot of bands are very choreographed,
I think it's over
right?
the top. I think it's
Right.
too much. I think it's too much. You know,
I
it's not
used to
it's
like it. I used to like it. I don't love it anymore.
I agree. I
You
agree.
know, I used to like
It's
the sophistication and the unison of like to the side. You know, everybody doing the same exact thing over and over again. It felt like that they were like sort of a performance. But after a
mm,
while, I got bored with it. It felt very contrived.
it's very
You
contrived.
know,
Look, if you want to do
yeah,
a couple moves that are
right.
like grooving together, the band should be moving in sync, but not like I don't know. And look,
I'm
if a
talking about
client
full
wants
chore.
it,
I'm talking about full choreography. You know, on stage. So
yeah, that's
that's what they
I
used to.
think yeah, I don't think the brides and grooms want that these days. It's too look, we live in a world where people want authenticity. They want real, raw, you know, like in TikTok, Instagram videos, they're raw. Like this is where the psychology is with the people. And they want authentic. You have a great band that sounds great, that looks great, and it's about the bride and groom. They are the stars of the show, and the band is the supporting cast.
You know, if you had to tell a bride and groom that's shopping for entertainment, right? What to look for? What would be like the top two or top three things you would tell them
Yeah.
as advice from like a guy that knows his shit?
That's a great question. I would say any companies that you're looking at that have this in studio pre recorded video, that's not what they really sound like. You want to make sure the
I love
videos,
that. That's not who they are. Okay, good.
not what they sound like. Well, I don't know if it's who they are or not, but I can tell you that like it's in a studio. You want to know what your band is going to sound like at a live event. So make sure that the videos you're seeing are at a live wedding, even iPhone footage, raw. Look at the raw videos. And that's what I would suggest. That's like one of the main things. And I
That's
talk,
interesting.
yeah,
Interesting, because a lot of the big bands will put you in, especially if you go see them in person, they put you in a studio room with great sound, and they don't even show you the band. They show you like a medley
right.
of the band singing
It's
over
right.
like footage of a wedding.
Right, interesting, right? I think those showcases are just. I think they're really tough. I know people they want to like see it live, and when you go into a
No, no, not
showcase,
showcases. They're watching video in like in the control room.
oh,
They let
yeah,
they yeah
I
yeah.
know. It's the old way. It's the old way. You know, it's like people want authenticity. You
So
know,
that even iPhone video is better than that can video. And what else you thinking? What's another good word of advice?
now, another word of advice is to make sure that there is a band leader or a good MC that can really lead the flow of the crowd because there's a lot of great bands, but there's not a lot of great bands that have good MCs, right? That can really and when I say MC, I don't mean like rah 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 all night. I mean just read the crowd, make sure they're connecting with the planner, make sure they're connecting with the bride and groom, make sure then they're connecting with the band and to make sure that it's all like cohesive and all good flow because that's very important, right? Breaking that ice.
I think it's super important. I think the MC is such an important part of the band itself.
Yep.
People need to know what's going on, what's happening. People also need to have, when there's an announcement, the energy the MC brings to the room. And I've had really good MCs and I've had really terrible MCs, you know,
Right.
that speak very slowly. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the hotel or the wedding of, we're going to bring in the bride and groom now. And I'm like, we're going to fall asleep now.
That's
There's no
hilarious.
energy in the voice, no energy in the room, the slow drum in the background. I'm saying, wow, we're starting off so low energy that it's going to be so hard to bring these people up that I want to party so bad. So
Right.
good MC and really video that is real rather than video that is pre-recorded in the
Yeah.
studio.
Yeah. Yeah. And also I would say get some referrals. If they're not recommended directly from the planner, or if they're not on the preferred vendor list, ask to speak to a past bride or groom, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's important, and reviews today are all over the place.
Right.
Sometimes you trust them, sometimes you don't.
Mhm.
It's so hard to look at reviews and really get the right assessment,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're scary looking. I'm like, whoa, I know these people are terrible, but look at the review on it, right? And I know this,
Right.
I don't know. Sometimes I guess if you have like, 350 4.9, I think you're doing okay, right?
Right. Right.
But if you're
Yeah.
having like 250 and they're all 5 stars, something's wrong, right?
Or
You
something's
know,
really right.
right? You really
Right.
can't be 100. You really can't run that straight, 5 stars straight through
Sure.
authentically. It's just something's wrong along the line. You know, so I don't know where we're going with our industry or where we're going with our social media when it comes to hiring people. I
Yeah.
find that a lot of brides are calling me today, and if the vendor that I suggest doesn't have a massive Instagram following,
Yeah.
they don't see him as good,
That's
right?
interesting.
And
Right.
and I find that to be so disconcerting. I'm saying, no, this is like the best you can hire. Yeah, but they only have like 14,000 followers,
Right.
and I'm saying, well, they're a wedding band. So it's like, or a DJ. I said, they only have so many people getting married over a certain period of time. They're not like, they're not selling makeup, or they're
Right.
not like, they don't have like, they don't have influencers behind them, and they're not selling, I don't know, whatever is more like to the masses. It's a very, small industry, and so many people are getting married, and there's only so many people leaving reviews, even after doing those weddings. I think 14,000 is a lot, if
Right.
anything, for our industry, right? But they take everything as a whole and they go, oh, or even if a photographer, if they don't see like massive, massive amount of followers and who they're following, and big associations with bigger planners,
Yeah.
and they're judged on that rather than judged on performance sometime. And that is, I don't want to say bothersome. I say it's annoying, right? Because I
Yeah.
know it's not real. Because I see people out there that are not good, having a lot of followers. And I'm saying, are they buying the reality of the product, or are they actually buying the hype?
Right. It's a good question.
So many people are buying the hype.
Yep.
What's the hype? Where do you get most of your clients? I know from planners, but overall, I know we don't have, nobody advertises anymore, but we do. It's all social media based. Is it all what you're
Well,
doing? I
it's
mean,
everything. We're word of mouth.
what's
We
the
have a
best way to
lot of
be, right?
the great way to be. We have a lot of brides. I had this one bride. She brought me like 10 of her friends.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. So a lot of it's word of mouth. So it's either the planners or the venues or the brides. After the event. People just call us. So I think it's all about the product, right? Like you only get one shot in this industry, especially as a band. You're only as good as your last event. I say
Only as
that.
good as your last event, almost good as your last set.
Yeah, exactly. Right, right. Yeah, it's a good point.
It's really weird. It's difficult job.
Yeah,
You're only as good as your last set.
especially when you're scaling, you have to have systems in place, and you have to have processes in place, and you have to have a winning formula in place. You have to have proper training. You have to have a lot of like these protocols all buttoned up. Because how do you have consistency? How do I have consistency over all these cities? Because there's
Difficult.
training in place. There's consistency. There's a standard of who we're hiring, and then there's
Right.
a standard of how we train.
There's a structure, right?
There's a
And
structure.
right, you have to abide by that structure, and it's fantastic what you've accomplished in so little time.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Yeah.
my kudos to you.
Thank you.
Troy, it's been wonderful having you on, which I
This was
knew I
fun.
was going to. It's always fun just having a conversation and finding out about things that we understand, but a lot of people don't know.
Right.
And you can never learn enough in this industry.
It's
You're
true.
learning every
Al-
single day.
Always
So
learning.
Troy Cortis Entertainment on Instagram. I
Yep.
see
So
TCE.
yep. So the
Um,
Instagram is at Troy Curtis Live
yep, I'm watching
Entertainment.
it. Right.
Yep.
Try
At
Troy
Troy.
Cortis Live. Okay.
Yeah, at Troy Curtis Live Entertainment. There's actually an older Instagram handle that for some reason I can't get to take down.
Yep.
But
Well, there's
this is
Troy Curtis Entertainment. Then there's Troy Curtis Entertainment again.
there should just be one at Troy Curtis Live Entertainment. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Troy Curtis Live Entertainment.
Right. That's the first one. And then there's a Troy Curtis Entertainment. Right.
Yeah, which for some reason Instagram won't take down. Or at least give me the password for at least.
Well, it looks great.
Thanks.
It looks great. So thanks again. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
And I'll let you know.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye now.
Bye-bye.